Hey everybody, Larry, Fort Worth Memories Museum and Group, and Hometown Heroes. It's Tuesday. Rick and Mary have a special guest. I've been sitting here visiting with him, and so let's get the show going.
Let's do it, Larry. Today our special guest is Sacher Dawson, and he is Executive Director of Hope Farm, and we're going to hear a lot more about Hope Farm. I met Sacher about 4 weeks ago. Our good friend Jimmy Palazzani
Yes.
was having an event one night at the restaurant and asked me to take pictures. And so usually I don't ask him what kind of event because they're all good. And
Yeah.
I get over there and just about all the brass from the Fort Worth Police Department is there. They've all got aprons on, and then Jimmy's on the radio because there's a caravan, a motorcade with police escort, 2 big buses coming in from South Fort Worth. And they roll up, the sirens are blaring and the traffic's being blocked, and they roll up and Sacher walks out and he's got the most delightful group of mothers and sons. And at Hope Farm, they take at-risk boys and turn them into men. And this was a mother-son date night.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and it was the most. It's just unbelievable what we saw and experienced. So, Sacher, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, thank you, Rick, and so thank you for that introduction of the event, and I still want to say thank you to Jimmy again for such an outstanding event where young boys get to take their moms out on a date. So my name is Sacher Dawson, and I'm the executive director at Hope Farm, and I've had that privilege for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in June. And Hope Farm is an after-school program for boys with no fathers in the home. And so prior to coming to Hope Farm, I spent 32 years in mortgage banking, in the last 17 with Fannie Mae. And so I'd early retired in 2017. And so the first year, you do what retired people do. You just travel and do stuff, right? And so, and my wife is a school teacher by trade. And so I didn't realize she's accustomed to having a house to herself in the summertime, right? So the next summer in 2018, she says, well, why don't you go out and see if Gary needs some help with a project or something, right? So Gary was the previous executive director, and I had been volunteering at Hope Farm since 1999. And so I said, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. And so I get in the car, I drive out, and I say, hey, Gary, I'm early retired. I got some time on my hand, and I just wondered if you got a project you need some help with, and I'll be happy to help you with it. And he said, boy, do I have a project for you. Right? He says, Noble, come over here. And so Noble was the co-founder. And the reason why he called him over, he says, we just prayed about this 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
About transitioning. And so I don't think this is coincidental. Right? And I said, oh, no, Gary, you got it all wrong. I got beaches to go to. I got things to do. I meant for like a month or so, and then I could go back to my life. And, the spiritual gentleman that Gary was, he says, Satch, let me tell you, man, he says, if God got something for you to do, it's not even your decision.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Right? And he says, and if he does call you to do something, it's going to be something very challenging. It's not going to be something in the mortgage industry where you've already mastered it, right? And so on the drive home, I'm still thinking, man, Gary's crazy. I got 500,000 sky miles. I got things to do, right? And so 2 weeks later, our pastor preached a sermon that says, the Lord is never going to call you to do something you've already mastered.
Amen.
He says, if he calls you to do something, it's going to be hard and it's going to be challenging, because when you're successful at it, you got to give him the glory. Mm-hmm. And I said, wow, this is the second time in 2 weeks that I've heard this. And so had a meeting with the board. He says, here, take it, think about it for 2 weeks. First 3 days, I just tossed and turned, couldn't really sleep. And I said, yeah, that's my call. And so I signed it, and it's been peaceful ever since. It's hard, it's challenging, but it's peaceful. And so, upon getting there and being a part of it, the day to day, you can see the young men when they come in. It takes about 6 months for them to be in the program before you can see the turn. And when you see the turn, that's one of the most gratifying things in the world. I work for Fannie Mae. We did some great work during the housing crisis, but nothing is more gratifying to see a young man that come in and then 6 months later, you don't even recognize him. In fact, I've had a mom that tell me that. So we charge $100 a year for our services. We know that's not going to pay for anything, right? But we want to make sure they got some skin in the game. And so one of the parents says, I brought my kid to Hope Farm initially because it was cheap after school care. She said, but 6 months later, I didn't even recognize my son because he was saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and he's pulling out chairs and opening doors
Wow.
and talking about the Lord. And so that's who we are at Hope Farm. We're here to change the trajectory of these at-risk young men and transform them into Christ-centered leaders, men of integrity. And so we do it, by a 4-pillar approach. We call it read, feed, parent, and empower. And it's an amazing program. Hope Farm has been around for 30 plus years. We actually have 3 campuses now. We have 2 in Fort Worth and 1 in South Dallas. And so, and we need more because there needs to be a Hope Farm in every major community. If you hadn't noticed yet, teenage violence is on the rise.
No, it's awful.
Yes. And so, and if you don't have programs like ours that's targeted to get the kids when they're young, our intake age is from 5 to 10-year-olds, kindergarten through 5th. My old mentor told me a long time ago, he says, it is so much easier to prepare a kid than to repair. And so we get them young and we try to mold them and create and lay a foundation so that by the time they're teenagers, high schoolers, they can help with the next group that's coming through. Disciples, discipling disciples. And so it's an outstanding ministry. And we generally tap out at about 50 kids on a campus. And the reason why we do that is because we want to know the kids. We want to go deep versus wide. And so every day, pretty much all the program leaders, they know each kid's name. They don't have to wonder who it is. And each one of them's got a unique action plan.
And you have interaction with the mothers too.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we learn later on in the process. You can pour into these young boys and you can pour into the young boys. But unless you get the moms involved, your message is going to get lost at home. And so several years ago, we started the Mother's Resource Program. So when the boys join, the moms have to join as well. And what that entails is that, the mom sign up, she has to do 10 hours of volunteer work. They have to meet once a month, and they have to go through what we call Parent University. And so Parent University is parenting tips, spiritual tips, and then we find out a little bit about them. What are some of their needs? So a lot of times we have professional development seminars to help them in areas such as resume writing, financial literacy, computer literacy in some cases. The boys need to see victory at home as well. And so our goal is to make it holistic. for the whole family. Because if we don't do it, we're going to lose a generation. Our communities are banking on this.
I noticed that whenever I was visiting with the parents, the mothers, at the mother-son date night, that there was a lot of grandmothers there that were fulfilling the roles of the moms.
Right. And so a large majority of our boys, it's their caregivers, not
Yeah.
their moms.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time the moms are maybe in jail, or they run into some substance abuse problem. And so it's apparent that the grandmothers or the great grandmother or the aunts or someone has to step in and be the caregiver for those young children. For instance, we had one kid was being raised by his 85-year-old grandmother.
Wow.
So by the time he graduated from high school, she was 90, right? And so we had to stand in the gap for them. She didn't know what to do, but that was her grandson. And so his mom died at a young age and his dad died. And so there are several instances like that. And that's why a program like ours is not just an after-school program. That's what makes us different than everyone else, right? We are a holistic program where we stand in the gap for the boys and the caregiver.
And you were talking about manners a while ago, about pulling chairs out and things like that. I was talking to one of the mothers, and I think her son was probably about 7 years old, and said, I've seen such a change in him. He opens the car door for me, and even whenever I came in, he had the chair out for me, and says, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And all the young men that were there, whenever I would talk to them, it was yes, sir, and no, sir. And Don Graves, our friend that sang the God Bless America,
Yes.
he was there,
Yeah.
and so I know he had a great time seeing all these children. And another thing that I saw there, you get that many kids together, and there's going to be a lot of chaos, but I didn't see that. It was like the boys were just, the time they were with their mom, that was what they were all about. They weren't over here, trying to wiggle around and go over there, but they were having conversations with their mothers.
Right. And thank you, Ricky. So the staple of a Hope Farm boy is that when you meet him the first time, he's going to come up to you, he's going to give you a firm handshake, he's going to look you square in the eye and introduce himself and say, pleased to meet you, sir, or what's your name? And so 16 social skills, we work on that, and that's a big part of what we do. For one, it instills confidence and esteem. Two, it's the right thing to do, right? It's manners. Back in our day, we used to call that manners. And then again, part of that discipline, what you notice is that some of the older boys hold the younger boys accountable. And that's why a lot of times you don't see a lot of moving around and things like that, because they'll tell you, Hope Farm boys don't do that.
And there's some of that leadership that you're instilling in those.
Correct.
As they come up, then they're mentoring and helping the younger boys. And I talked to one high school guy, and I think he was doing an internship at Lockheed, and he played golf. He loves to play golf. So
Yes. So again, we have some very, very talented young men there. Charles is one of our seniors this year, and he wants to major in engineering. And so he has a full internship at Lockheed Martin.
Wow.
This year. And so he loves to golf. So one of the things that we do at Hope Farm, we do a lot of field trips because we want to expose them to different things. And so we exposed them to first tee, early in the program. And then every year we have an annual golf tournament. And so a lot of times they would go to that. They were staying at holes, and once everybody's done, they get a few hits in and things like that. but it's exposure. That's what that's all about. And because you didn't even know you liked golf until you got exposed to it.
Where do you go on your field trips?
We go to different places. Obviously, we go to Fort Worth Zoo. We've had field trips to the Dallas Cowboys, stadium out there, the Rangers stadium, of course, museums, Science Museum, Amon G. Carter Museum. They go to Kids Across America camp each year. Well, they didn't go to COVID years, but other than that, and then other things, people will invite us to. Jay Novacek invited us out to his ranch. We've done that before. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see city boys finally get out and they just run. And so, quite a few field trips that we go on. In fact, during spring break, we've got a couple that's going to Aspen, Colorado. And so one of our goals is to be able to take a group to Washington, D.C.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Yes. And so, but exposure is a key part of the educational process for us.
It would be nice if you haven't done a field trip to have a field trip to NASJRB, the reserve base. Have y'all been out there?
We have not. We have not been out
Ooh,
there
we should
yet.
talk to the skipper
I
about that
think
too.
we know a guy.
Okay. All right. That would be great.
So I think that would be great exposure for them to see the airplanes up close, to see how the people work as a team. And
Absolutely. So, when we talk about empowerment, we want to make sure that they own our track, right? And so one of the 3 tracks, we tell kids when you graduate, either you're going to college or you're going to go to vocational school and learn a trade, or you need to go to the military, right? Because no one can just fall through the crack on our watch. And those are 3 great leadership opportunities that could set you up for the rest of your life.
on your website, I was looking at your website, and it said 100% finish high school. That's in your program. Is that pretty close to?
It says, so 100% of the ones who start 9th grade in our program graduate.
Okay.
And so what we see in Fort Worth ISD and Dallas ISD, that number is in the high 50s%. Like 56, 58%.
Isn't that something? Who
Yeah.
would have thought that?
Yes, I mean, it's amazing. And I'm like, where do these kids go? And what do they
Right.
do? Right. And so the kids who enter our program from kindergarten and go all the way through, 100% of those go to college. And actually, we have 2 young men have gone all the way, have started in kindergarten, graduated high school, graduated college, and now they work for Hope Farm.
I met one of them.
Mr. Darian,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so, who can tell the story better? They've seen it from every angle.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when we go to strategic planning in the summertime, he has a big part in what we do, right? Because he knows he's a little bit closer to those kids and what they would like and what they need to see. I remember him telling us once is that he said, when I was coming through, I just remember nobody would listen to us. It was like, we're just kids, right? We telling you what will work and what we like, but nobody would listen to us. And so that gave us an opportunity to take a step back and say, okay, give us some ideas on what you like to do, what works within a certain structure,
Mhm.
of course. And he can relate to these kids so much better, especially now that he has a podcast. And so part of that is, I can relate to these kids and just let me talk to them and then I'll translate to you, especially old people like me, right? Yeah, so it's a great opportunity, and man, we can't even wait to see what the future holds for some of our kids.
So you have about 50 people or 50 young men in your program at your South Side location?
Correct.
And then at your Como location?
Yeah, for Como, we have about 10 to 15
Okay.
hitters there. And then we've got about 20 to 25 at our Dallas location.
Okay.
And all of those are fairly new. The one in Como opened in 2019, and the one in South Dallas opened in 2020. So COVID has kind of like put us on hold for both of those locations, but all of them will get to 50.
Yeah, you have some programs. You got a choir program, don't you?
We
A
do.
music program?
Yes, so we have a music program. Dr. Becky Ringer is our choir director, and a couple of weeks ago, our boys sang the national anthem at the TCU girls game, and they were scheduled to do it at the men's West Virginia game, but that was when the ice storm was, and so it got postponed. So yes, very talented choir, and they've been on the spotlight already. They're singing the national anthem.
That's good. Just need to find some other, maybe in the summer we can have them come to one of our roll call luncheons and have them sing the national anthem.
Summer is a little tougher, just mainly because they're not in school, and so sometime they will go visit other relatives and parents and things like that. During the school year, it's probably better if that's
We usually have it on a Friday
Yeah.
at noon, and they'd have to, can they get out of school for a little bit maybe to?
What time is it?
11:30.
11:30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't-
Yeah.
Well, we'll work out
Yeah,
something.
that's why it's always tougher to get
Yeah.
some of these groups
Yeah.
because of that, because our luncheon starts at 11:30, and that's when we do the anthem and post the colors, and
Right.
and then and our December one we like because we can always get some folks to come and do some entertaining.
Right.
But that's
yeah.
also still probably during the school year, and
But there may
That
be
would be
some
tough.
opportunities
Yeah.
on some other things we do in the
Mhm.
evening that we can tie into.
Yeah, that would be great.
You have a basketball clinic coming up?
We do.
Spring break?
Yes, thanks for mentioning. So March 13th and 14th, we have our annual basketball clinic. And this is probably about the 25th year that we've had this clinic. And so it's a great opportunity for other young men to come to the campus and learn some basketball skills. Our basketball coach, director, was a former NBA player.
Wow.
And so, and then we have a lot of other coaches that's involved. There's a semi-pro team, Fort Worth Funk, is part of it as well. And our team, some of our program directors, they have coached and directed as well. So it's a great opportunity, and it's usually the first 2 days of spring break. It gives the boys something to do to kind of keep them out of trouble, and then we don't take up the whole spring break with basketball clinic. It gives them another 2 or 3 days to kind of refresh, recharge, and get ready for the stretch run for the last semester.
What's like the typical day at Hope Farms? Do you do a lot of preparation during the day, and then you have buses that go pick up the young men?
We do. So at Hope Farm, once you enter into the program, we get access to your school portals. So we can see the grades, homework, behavior, and things like that. So a lot of our program directors during the day are doing that. They're going in, looking, see, so that by the time the kids get to campus, you know, they already got a nice little surprise for them, good or bad, right? And so, but yeah, we meet probably around 2 o'clock each afternoon, kind of go over the routes, make sure we got everything covered. Leave out in between 2:45, 3 o'clock, go to the schools, pick them up, bring them back to the elementary students back to campus, drop them off, and then they may go and pick up the middle school, high schools, because they get out a little bit later than the younger kids. And then depending on what time you get there, there's a rotation, right? There's 3 rotations there. You've got Bible study, you've got reading literacy lab, and then you've got tutoring. And then at 5:30 each afternoon, they all come together and have a family-style dinner. And so the Bible study piece is the Awana curriculum. And so I have to tell a great story. There's a young man named Elijah. Elijah was the one that was serving.
I met him.
Right, he was there, yes. So Elijah came into our program when he was 5. So he's been in the program now about 3 or 4 years, 8 or 9. And so his mom called right around Christmas time and said, I want to thank you guys, especially Mr. Drew. And Mr. Drew is our Bible instructor. She says, because whatever Bible verses that Elijah learns at Hope Farm, he comes home and he shares them with me and his older sister. And because of that, you know, we're back in church. So, you're a picture of this, right? This is an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and he's holding Bible study in his house.
Isn't that something?
That's what Hope Farm is all about.
Uh-huh.
The easiest way to transition a person is from the inside out. And so he gets it. Elijah's going to make it in life because he gets it.
Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
think that I met him, and I got to visit with him and his grandmother.
No, that's
comes
his
his
mother.
mother. Okay.
Yeah, Miss Gibson.
Yeah, just incredible young man.
He is special.
So in your tutoring, I mean, you're looking at their grades and their activities every day. So you know where they're weak and where they're strong, and
We do, and we have an honor roll program. So all the kids that make AB honor roll, they get $25 to deposit in their account and a $25 gift card that they can spend on their own. The kids who make all A's, they get $50 to deposit in their account and a $50 gift card to spend on their own.
where does their account? Where does that go? Is that
So what we started is that all kids have to go ahead and open a bank account. So the ones under 16, their parents have to sign, of course, and it's a custodian account. But we just want to get them accustomed to banking so that when we start teaching financial literacy, it's not foreign to them. And so, and it's a great thing to have money in their account. You know, they can see, oh, I'm up to $200 now. I'm up to $75 now. And so that's a great part of what we do there. And the saddest and the greatest thing is like when we have the honor roll program, and we calling out people's name, and they come up and they get their certificates. The other kids in the stage are crying, right? And it was like, cause I didn't get any money. It's like, okay, buddy, but you know what? If you make the AB honor roll next semester, you will be on. It's the saddest and the greatest thing.
Because they can all get it, right?
can all
It's
get
not
it.
it's
Right.
not like some things where it's only the top 10% or something. Every one of
Everyone
those young
can
men
get
can do it.
And so when you crying, that tells me you care, right? And so now you're gonna put in some extra effort to try to make it next semester. It's a great learning tool.
so? You also work with the school too, don't you?
We
With
do.
Morningside, is it Morningside Elementary?
Yeah, so all of the schools districts in there. So we're so close to Morningside Elementary is that it's almost like a home school for us. And so, but we have, you know, we've had principals and guidance counselors come over and said, you know, we're in a crisis because at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got gang members lined up on the perimeter of the campus, and they're recruiting 8 and 9-year-old
Oh
kids.
my.
And so, you know, that's one of our biggest oppositions right now, and that's one of the reasons why we go to the schools and pick them up, so they don't have to walk through the gang members and so on and so forth to get to our campus. And so, it's a great opportunity for us to make a deep impact in the community, and we work hand in hand with the schools administrators. They know us. We have a reputation. If they see a kid that's struggling, they may recommend them to us. So here's what happens. When our kids get in trouble at school, they will call us before they call the parents. Right? So our program directors go out there and show up. And so, true story, they went out. One young man was having some issues. They went out, they got him straightened out. While he was there, the counselor said, "Hey, can you take care of these two men over here? I know they ain't in your program yet, but they can use some help too." So we can't do that because, you got to have parental permission. But, we do tell them that, "Hey, young man, that's what you just said is disrespectful to your teacher," and go from there.
Yeah, sounds like we need a lot more of Hope Farm. We need many, many more Hope Farms.
Yes, we do. One of the things that's really alarming right now is that you see teenage violence. It's on the rise.
And even with the girls, it's brutal.
It is. It's very brutal. And so one of the things that we are seeing is you got to have more programs like this. You got to get the kids younger, because by the time they get 12 or 13, it's too late. You got to get them younger. You got to instill discipline and structure in them at a young age. So by the time they become teenagers, they are the leaders, not the followers. And that's why our program is so great and so invigorating. And that's why we got to get into more communities and make a bigger impact.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, you have a lot of community support, but you don't get government grants, correct?
We do not. So Hope Farm, 100% of our donations is private donation. We don't take any government funding because we are a faith-based organization. And we don't want them telling us that we can't teach the Bible in our program. So, yeah, all of our donations, 100% is private donations. We do have some support, and we always looking for new support because we gotta go deeper. We gotta get into more communities, and the more that's given, the more we can go other places and build bigger impacts. So yes. If anyone's interested, they can go to our website.
We've got that going across the bottom of our
Okay.
screen too. So
Perfect. And so it's a great opportunity. Volunteers as well. We love volunteers. Like I said, there's always work to do at the farm. Right?
What kind of volunteers do you need? What things would a volunteer be doing?
Yeah. So a lot of it is we have a campus. And we're at the corner lot, and it's always trashed and things like that. So we get quite a few volunteers for that. The reading literacy lab, occasionally we need helpers in that. Someone who is biblically inclined and the Awana program, we always need help with that. Mentors, tutors, right? That if you are particularly good in math or science or whatever, and there's always some tutoring opportunities from there. I mean, even during the day, sometimes you may need some help with the phones. The basketball clinic is coming up. We need tons of coaches and volunteers to help out from that perspective. Our builders get older. We need painting, people who know how to paint. Those are great. Love that.
we know a guy.
Yeah, the maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
And with the moms, so do you need some volunteers to work with the moms too?
Absolutely. We like you said, we meet the second Tuesday of every month in the Mother's Resource meeting, and so yeah, there's opportunities there to work with them on camp, on site, off site as well.
Very cool. Sounds like a lot of opportunity to try to get this thing to spread, because can you imagine what a community would be like if every community had a Hope Farm?
Absolutely. That's
Because when I worked at JPS for a short period of time while I was still a reservist out here, and I would drive by there, and I would see that every morning driving to JPS from.
Right.
I live in Benbrook, and so I'd see the Hope Farm, and then I heard the story about it, and I started reading about it, and I thought, this is absolutely amazing what you guys are doing over here, and we need more of this.
Yes, thank you. We do need more, and one other thing that we need to is people who have professional drivers or can drive, right? Because we have to go to different schools and pick kids up, and so a lot of times you don't get a lot of volunteers or someone because it takes a certain expertise, to drive some of the larger vehicles and go and pick up kids, but retired mailmen and couriers and people like that.
There's a lot of retired military that know how to drive a whole lot of big vehicles.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
That. And we know quite a few retired military out there. So, this is a great opportunity. Drive a vehicle.
Yes. So back to what you're saying, I wished I had $1 for everyone that says, I've seen that sign on 35 and I always thought it was just a vegetable place or something, right? And I never stopped to see what it is. Well, we invite people, if you see the sign and you want to know what it is, come by for a tour. We welcome that.
You don't have any cows or horses?
We don't have any cows or horses. So let me tell you the story behind Hope Farm. Hope is an acronym, helping other people excel. And the farm is that we cultivate young minds and we sow seeds for young boys. And that's the theory behind the Hope Farm.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
We need that for women too, for young girls. Is there anything equivalent for young girls?
So we've been looking for that for about 5 years now. And, one of the areas that we did look at and contemplate partnering with was Girls Inc. But it's a little further down and, it's not as faith-based as we may want it. But we were still waiting for the Lord to put it upon someone's heart to start a women's program within the same neighborhood so that parents can drop off son and daughter or pick up son and daughter right in the same area and then head home.
Yeah, because I don't know, when I watch the news anymore, the level of, I'm so disturbed by what I see in young women and these girls in there, they're on school buses and they're hitting each other and it's just
very aggressive.
They're incredibly aggressive, and I realize that I was that age in the '60s, but and you really just didn't see girls behaving in the manner that you see that today, and it is so disturbing. But again, they don't have necessarily good role models, right? They don't have parents, and a girl needs her dad.
Yes.
A girl really needs her daddy to lay down the law sometimes.
That is true. It's very much true. Just that balance, and your dad generally instills that confidence and esteem, and then young girls also like to live up to their dad's expectation, and so, which is a lot of what our program is about as well. We tell our kids all the time, you're not a product of your environment. You're a product of your expectations. And we have high expectations for you. And so if you notice within a family, most of the time, if they have high expectations for you, you have a great chance of succeeding.
Yep.
And that's what we are pushing with our board. In this America, you could be anything that you want to be.
Anything.
If you willing to put in the work.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
You have a real good relationship with the Fort Worth Police Department. They're pretty involved in supporting your Hope Farms.
Yes, we love the Fort Worth Police Department. They come over sometime, they play ball with the boys, they barbecue, even the game unit. And Chief Noakes is just the greatest. He'll stop by sometimes to say hello. Our neighborhood police officer is great. We're part of Operational Progress. They use our Como facility sometime for meetings and things like that as well. We couldn't ask for a better partner than the Fort Worth Police Department. They have been absolutely wonderful.
I was pretty impressed whenever they had the Valentine's date, mother-son date. They had a full motorcade. They had officers in front and behind the buses. And this was at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, coming from South Fort Worth, way out on North Beach, so they blocked some traffic and they
I'd
moved
say
them
they
right
have a
through.
vested interest, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we absolutely do. But I just want to say that they rolled out the red carpet
Yeah.
for us.
And they really had the red carpet
They
there
really
too.
did. Once we got to the restaurant, there was red carpet there. But to send a bus for us and load it up, and the boys and mom get to sit together and just have a nice conversation while they are driving in the 5 o'clock traffic. And once they get there, it's just nicely laid out. The restaurant and the food was amazing. It was so great. I mean, just see the young boys. They know how to treat a lady.
Yeah.
And so, and the moms and caregivers was really proud of their sons, the way they was dressed and the way they presented themselves. That was a proud day for Hope Farm. For sure.
One of the grandmothers, she was on up in years. She said, "This is the happiest I've been because I feel so special. I never have been treated like this." And I told her, I said, "That's because you are special." Because
Absolutely.
you know, I kind of got teared up whenever I saw the buses come because usually a motorcade is for dignitaries and VIPs, and then I thought, these are the VIPs. These are the future of our country right here,
Absolutely.
coming in on this bus. And here at Hometown Heroes, we think sometimes about the heroes being first responders or the heroes being somebody that's been in battle, but Hope Farm, you are in a battle. I mean, you are out there. There's a war for our children.
Yes, there is.
And you're there just like, filling in that gap. And, I mean, what y'all are doing is vitally important to our community, to Fort Worth, Texas, to our state, and to our nation.
Well, thank you for those kind words. We certainly try to do our best. These are our sons. We love these kids. I mean, we treat them almost just like we do our own kids. And because we know how important this is. This is the generation that if we don't get it right, we stand to lose 2 to 3 different generations
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah. As Reagan said, right, we're only one generation away.
Right.
And this could be the generation.
And if we get it right, then the young ladies will have someone to marry. And then we can all take our rightful place in the communities.
Start having those family units again.
Yes, absolutely. That's the key.
That's the vision,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Because we always look for, to your point, when you said you don't take the government money for all the reasons that you don't, everybody wants to just go, well, the government will solve it. Let the government solve it. No, that's not. And I've said this a bazillion times if I've said it once. It's not the government's problem.
Right.
It's our problem, the community, and we need to be the ones to solve it.
It's the church and the community's problem. That's
And there's
how it
too
is.
many churches that aren't stepping up.
And there are some good ones that are
Absolutely.
doing their part. Absolutely. And but we've got to. Our goal is to get all our families in the church and become viable members of that society. And then at some point, they give back. They see what I got when I grew up. I got to learn how to give back, and that's what we're aspiring to.
So what's your most pressing needs that the community could help you with?
We always need donations, monetary donations for sure. One of the things that we could really use is a new van for transportation wise. Most of our vehicles, we've had them for a while, and I would say all of them have over 200,000 miles on them. And we know at some point we're going to have to replace them. And I'd rather be ahead of the game than all the repairs start to pile up. So that is one thing that could be really, really helpful for us.
So what size van is that? Like a 15 passenger van?
15 passenger van would be absolutely wonderful. And that's I would say that's our most pressing issue right now. We did need technology, but we've gotten that. Since COVID, we've been able to get the necessary laptops and tablets and things that we have. But I'm a little bit concerned about the transportation.
Yep. I know there have to be some folks out there watching that have something to do with maybe a car dealership or two. I know we have a great supporter at Roll Call that has a car dealership. So we know there's folks out there. So if you're watching this and you can help, let's make that happen.
Right. And one other thing I'd like to announce, we do have an upcoming gala.
Okay.
We have a gala coming up on April 25th, and it's going to be at Fifth and Carroll. And so our guest speaker is Michael Eric Dyson. He's a great author, great speaker, Georgetown tenure professor, Vanderbilt board of directors. I mean, accolade after accolade, and I think it'll be a great message to talk about how he overcame and achieved to the level that he has. And so that's another thing, we're looking for sponsorships for that. So if someone wants to come out and have a great evening.
Is that at Blue Mesa?
Blue Mesa, yes.
That used to be my property.
Small
That
Before
was
they-
my detail
Yeah,
shop.
Okay.
they tore it down and built Blue Mesa.
Right.
Wow.
And so at the top floor
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
they call it Fifth and Carroll.
25th, I was there. 25 years I was there.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
And then you've got golf tournament. Is that
Yes.
a benefit golf tournament that you have?
Yeah, we have an annual benefit golf tournament, and usually it's either late October or early November, whenever the heat down, generally.
Okay.
And so there's more to come on the golf tournament. We haven't gotten all of the details on that one nailed down yet.
We know how that is.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have to shop prices, right, and things like that each year. But we look forward to that. And if any golfers out there, you got your team, ringers, whatever, bring them on, and we'll love to have you.
Yeah, on your gala and your golf tournament, if we get the information to us, and we'll kind of push it out there and help promote those. So
We will do that, absolutely. The gala is already on the website. The golf tournament information will be on shortly.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm anxious to go see your facility. I want to go see both of them because I pass by the other one all the time. That's out off of Vickery.
Right.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to give you a tour. You can come by anytime during the day. We're generally there, and we're always open to a tour. It's an amazing story from the start of two old crack houses to the beautiful campus at Morningside, Como, and now South Dallas. So love to give you a tour and tell you the story.
Making a difference one kid at a time.
that's right.
It. That's it. That's really it.
Yeah.
One di-
And you had no idea that this was going to be your future, but God doesn't call the equipped; He equips the called.
That-
And boy, did He do it with you.
That is a
He
fact.
just groomed you right
Yeah.
for the right place.
That's it. Yeah, the beaches can wait, right? They'll
That's
be
right;
there.
they're going to be there.
Yes.
But all those young lives that you're touching are going to be definitely positively affected in generations behind them, hopefully.
Well, hopefully, and again, and they touch me as well. I mean, I tell you, it's really rewarding when you see kids, especially graduation. I mean, we just had a kid graduated from college last year. In 2020, we had a virtual gala, and our guest speaker was our first kid that graduated and went to college. And now he has a big church in Atlanta.
Wow.
And just finished his first book, Encountering God.
Wow.
And he talked about how And when he was 12 years old, he told his mom, I hate that place. I want to get out, right? But he said, I'm so happy that she made me stick with it, because everything that I am today, a lot of it comes from the teachings and the trainings from Hope Farm.
Wow.
What a great story. What a great
It's
ministry.
amazing.
Yeah, he is an amazing young man. He really, really, really is. Absolutely.
Sacher, it's been a privilege and honor to have you here today, and we want everybody to go visit the website for Hope Farm and just drop by there sometime and meet the staff, and maybe if it's in the afternoon they can see how the program works. But thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that our paths crossed, because that night at Cafe Republic is one that I'll remember forever, and I sure want to be there next year.
Absolutely. we got it on the calendar already. So
Very good.
Look forward to it. And thank you for having me. I enjoyed telling the story.
I just saw the impact you were having, and I thought, man, we need to find out more about this so we can tell everybody else. 'Cause
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you out for a visit.
I'll be there soon.
Okay.
And Mary, we've got roll call coming up the 24th.
24th.
It's not the last.
It's the funny thing about not being a leap year. It's happens to be the same day, and it's always the fourth Friday with a couple of exceptions. So yes, it's not the last Friday. It'll be the 24th. And we had to make a little switch with our guest speaker because Randy, who we had on the show early in our time, he's an amputee. And Randy, I don't know if you're watching, but maybe sometime you ought to slow it down just a little. He went skiing and got injured, and so we switched him and Jack Stowe. Jack Stowe, World War II vet, which we're also talking about getting on the show. Jack has just a fun World War II story. I think some of the folks said he's making war sound fun. But Jack got in a little trouble on occasion, and he shared some of those stories with us, but he also, was in battles. And just an incredible guy. And then I understand that his history here in Fort Worth is even very storied as well. And I was told that he'd have a great time with Larry, telling some stories.
They're running some of the same people.
They have. So we'll get Jack on here one day. But Randy will be our guest speaker then in March. And then April, of course, we are going to be out on the base. So we're invited again by the skipper to the base, and that'll be the 28th of April. The RSVPs for the March luncheon are going to open on the 6th. Okay. So they'll open Monday. It's very important that anyone that wishes to attend RSVP there. If you've never attended a luncheon before and you'd like to get a name tag with your service area if you're a vet and all that good stuff, you've got to also fill out the new attendee form. So make sure that you do that same place, roll-call.org, and you can make all that happen. And the luncheon was
we'd like
great.
to get Sacher there, too.
Yeah, we need to get you to come out. And we only have, 450 to 500 people we serve lunch to. It's a free lunch for the vets. We do it every month.
Where's it at?
It's at Birchman Baptist Church.
Okay.
And I actually did the math because sometimes people will say, well, how many of those are actually vets? Because we feed the vets and we feed the volunteers. So we take care of all of that. Just the veterans of our about 480 that RSVP'd, 74%, almost 75% were our vets. Of course, we got a huge contingent of volunteers because we have to have a huge contingent because we don't have people get up and stand in a line. They actually put plated food on the table in front of you, and the food is good. And we just hug. It's our time to be together, and I get lots of hugs and enjoy seeing everybody. And they get there early, 9:30. Lunch starts at 11:30, but by 11 o'clock the place is packed. We're trying to find seats for people that come in at 11:15.
That's amazing.
So it is really something. I always tell people you have to experience it to understand it. And one guy, it was his first time there, and I said, well, now you're part of the family. You got to come every month. That's just the way it works. You're part of the family.
Yeah.
I've been talking up the Tuskegee Airmen, so can you so people will know I'm not just saying it. Can you give us an update?
Yep, so Dr. Eugene Richards Jr., he's going to be coming in June. We're working on the date still. We would like to have him here, I think it's going to be the last Tuesday because the luncheon is the last Friday. So it should be the last Tuesday of the month or thereabouts, 21st, 22nd, somewhere in there of June. We hope to have him here on Hometown Heroes.
Good.
We're going to set up some other events for him, talking to the skipper about getting him out on base, to have him do at least one event out on the base. Just so that people can have the opportunity. There are less than 10 Tuskegee Airmen left, right?
10, that's 10 people.
Yeah, so that is, from my understanding, all the research I've done, then that's it. And so if you think about the last remaining people that can tell us firsthand knowledge, he's one of the few left.
And he might be a good one that we can tie in these young men.
Wouldn't that be
Oh,
great?
yeah.
Wouldn't
To
that be
see-
great to have him go out to visit Hope Farm one day?
We need to have these interviews
Yes.
and stuff recorded, so,
Oh, yeah.
because he would be a great, if you don't know the story about the Tuskegee Airmen, you need to learn it. It is a moving story, and the pride that these young men took is just astronomical. I mean, it can't be duplicated. So there was one here in Grand Prairie. I had him on the schedule. He was about 13 weeks out. That's how far he was booked in front of me, and he passed. So
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, of course, of this. We're not dealing with the younger generation here,
No.
so it's great, and we just look forward to seeing him. One of his sons lives here, so we'll get him here and get him out to as much stuff as we can get him to while he's here visiting, and
Yeah, we'd love to have him at our place.
Yeah,
That would be
and how
I think
about
that would be phenomenal.
mayor and city council? I'm just now thinking he ought to be honored in Fort Worth.
Yeah, we might, whenever he comes to roll call, maybe we can get the mayor to do a proclamation.
Yes, that would be. Yeah, that'd be something else.
yeah, lots going on. So between the April and the June luncheon, there's a lot of moving
A
pieces.
lot of moving pieces. Had a great weekend this weekend with Helicopters for Heroes. We have an annual helicopter hog hunt. Had 75, 80, maybe 100 people down there. Brought in a lot of severely wounded veterans, a lot of amputees down there to have fun, go shoot
How many
some
hogs did they kill?
They kill hundreds of them. They try to keep a list on how many, but probably 500 or 600 at least, because they were up all day long Saturday. And one thing, there's a bootmaker that goes out there and fits these guys for custom made boots. So you see them over there getting their shoes and their prosthetic. They make
Who's
the
the
boot.
bootmaker?
It's tied in with Justin, but it's a bootmaker that's up at Henrietta. I'll bring you his name. And the guy there, he's like a retired colonel that does the boot making, or that does the measurements and everything. But just a great organization, and looking forward to next year.
Don was out at Cowtown Warriors
That's
Ball
right, that's
Saturday night. I had him out at the Cowtown Warriors Ball, and of course they do a lot of good stuff with veterans. Whether it's that they've got something catastrophic that's happened and they can't pay their mortgage, or they need repairs done on a home, whatever the case might be, they raised quite a bit of money on Saturday night. And of course Don sang the national anthem, said the prayer. And then they made sure to really honor him at the end, to the very end, and he sang "God Bless America." And then, of course, I can never leave right as soon as that's over because everybody wants to take a picture with Don. So I get to.
He's an Iwo Jima. Well, you saw
Yeah, I
him. You
saw
met him.
him.
Yeah. But so it's been a busy weekend. We had some World War II vets honored at the Supercross. So we had, I think, 3 or 4 of them were out there. So roll call has taken people all over the place, and we're just busy. So if you need fellowship and camaraderie, come join us. Free. Anybody can be a part of roll call. Doesn't cost you a penny.
And we've got the clay shoot coming up in October. And we'll have more information on that. Everything's moving forward on that, so we've got that going. Larry, thank you so much for having us
My pleasure.
today. Thank you for sponsoring us. remember Classic Auto Detail, Fort Worth Memories Museum, and looking forward to seeing your cameras working.
We've been recording this one all day.
That's good. You've been live for a long time.
Yeah.
We'll just figure out how to do all the moving around of the cameras.
You can do a picture-in-picture. I'm trying to figure that out.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know how to do.
Oh yeah, we need we need some of his young men over here, 10, 11-year-old kids. They can do it in a heartbeat.
They
Oh,
can
sure.
maybe
Yeah.
teach
Just
some,
electronics, but sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
maybe teach some old dogs some new
Yes,
tricks.
sir.
Sacher, thanks so much for being here.
Rick, thank
and
you.
Just remember Hope Farm, Inc. in Fort Worth, Texas, and we'll have the website listed there. So go there, read about them, go visit, and there's a donation button, and find out what their other needs are.
They
Paint.
need a 15-passenger
Yeah,
van for
yeah.
sure.
So, and maybe they may need some bicycles come
Yeah,
December.
yeah,
Maybe we can get them to help us with the bicycles.
yes.
That'd be good.
The
Have 'em
more
down
the
there.
merrier.
Yeah. But this is Hometown Heroes, and we'll see you next week.